What if you live in a city or a location where you can't get to the range to train? In this video, Chip Eberhart, former law enforcement officer and competition shooter, covers how to safely practice at home with your firearm. And a quick reminder, we have a gun giveaway going on right now. You can enter for free, but it ends really soon. Just click the link in the description below to reveal which brand new gun you could win. Now, let's watch a video.
Chip Eberhart, City Limits. Today we're going to talk about what you can do if you live in a big city and you can't get to a range. A lot of people think that going to the range is the only way you can practice, but dry fire practice can be extremely efficient. Now, for dry fire practice, I like to mix it up a little bit. Sometimes I'll use my own personal firearm, but sometimes I'll use a training pistol like the SIRT training pistol. SIRT stands for shot indicating. That's the laser part, and resetting trigger. You can hear that trigger resetting. So with this, you can get multiple reps without having to manipulate the slide. The SIRT pistols are also the same size and approximate weight of whatever pistol design. They make them as Glocks, as SIG P320s, as well as the Smith & Wesson M&P. Let's go to firearm basics first. Before we even get into that, the first thing I want to talk about is safety. You always want to remember the primary 4 rules. Treat all firearms as if they're loaded. What that means is, even if you've taken out the feed device and you've cleared the chamber, you've made sure that there's no ammo in it, you still treat it with the same exact respect that you would as if it were a loaded gun. That means you don't start waving around like, oh, this is an unloaded gun. Always the same respect. The second, always keep your finger off the trigger until you've identified a target and you made a conscious decision to engage. So I like to keep that finger straight, not just here, because here, can you really tell if it's on the trigger or off the trigger? But if I put it here, now we know it's exactly off the trigger. The third one, never point a firearm at anything you're not willing to destroy. I like to consider that there's a hot laser beam coming out of the gun, and anything in that laser's path will be destroyed. So I'm not going to point it at a wall where my wife is making ammo on the other side of the wall, or a wall where there are children playing, or even a wall where there's neighbors on the other side of the wall. Always remember that. And that takes us to the last one, which is be aware of your target environment, and what's beyond it. The bullet, the projectile, doesn't just stop at its intended target. It can go well beyond that. So now let's talk about marksmanship. The first thing is, how do I hold the gun? Well, anybody that's ever shot knows that the gun, when it recoils, that is when the slide comes back and the recoil spring compresses, it's going to send all that weight to the back. And the lower you are on the gun, the more it's going to, I'm going to use the term Jerry Michalek uses, the more noodling it's going to do. So you want to be up as high on the beaver tail as possible. You want to be up so high that you're getting a little deviation on the web of your hand. So you want really high grip, and your knuckles. Your knuckles are also going to be high up, and that's why a lot of manufacturers will undercut there. Now, as for how hard do you hold it, you don't want to do a death grip. If you do a death grip, you're going to find that your trigger finger becomes really stiff. So instead, I want you to hold it as hard as you would hold a hammer if you're hammering nails. That's all you need there. That way you're going to have the nice control you want of your trigger finger. Now notice how my thumb is flagged here. If I'm going to shoot one-handed, I can put that down. A lot of people think that this portion here is a thumb rest. It's not a thumb rest. This is actually what we call a relief cut. The manufacturers relieve this area so it's easier to get to the magazine release. I like to leave this area open, all this real estate open, so that with my support hand, I can get that support hand in there. And when you're putting the support hand in, you want it also to be high, and you want to get as much of the meaty part of your hand onto the grip. A lot of the times, after your instructors talked about grip, they're going to talk about stance. I'm not going to talk a lot about stance. You may not be standing when you're shooting. You might be kneeling. You might be proned out. So stance is not that important. Grip is very important. After grip, a lot of people talk about aiming and sight picture. And then at the end, they'll get into trigger control. But I want you to consider, after your grip, trigger control is the most important aspect. After grip, you heard me right, after grip, trigger control is the most important aspect. Because if you aim and you got a great sight picture, but you've got horrible trigger control, it's not going to make any difference. All right? The guy that wins the gunfight is not the one that's the fastest shot, but the one that can get the first accurate shot. To get accurate shots, that means you don't want to disturb the sight picture. You don't want to disturb this front sight. So with trigger control, a lot of people think of the trigger as just like a light switch. It's either off or it's on, but there's a lot more that's going on there. You notice on all triggers, even on your fine single action guns, there's a little slack, a little take up there. The thing you want to do is you want to take up that slack first. We call that prepping. So you want to prep, you're going to break the shot, you're going to reset, break the next shot. Now reset, that means after you prep and break the shot, reset means you're only coming up as much as you need to feel and hear that click, okay? From there, that means you don't have to keep prepping again. So again, it's going to be prep, break, reset, break. That's going to help you to get better trigger control. And when you're dry firing, what I like to do is sometimes I'll use a target, but sometimes I'll just use a plain old white wall. You can see an entire article I did on the plain old white wall drill in Concealed Carry Magazine. Now, what I'm talking about with the plain old white wall, why not use a target? Because the most important thing is watching your sights. After you've controlled the trigger, that means, again, you're not disturbing that sight picture. So what I do in my drills is I'm going to prep, break the shot, reset, break the shot. All I'm doing here, I'm not worried about where the laser is going. I'm just worried about watching to make sure that that front sight does not move left or right, up or down. Now, if you do see it moving left, right, up or down, that could mean a number of things. Usually, if it's going left, that means you have too little finger on the trigger. If it's going right, that means you have too much finger on it. Now, the old thinking used to be, I always want to put the pad of my finger onto the trigger. That would mean that everybody has the same size fingers, the same size hands, they're using the same gun. You need to find for yourself where's the exact right position where you have the right amount of muscle control to pull the trigger without disturbing the sight picture. But if you want to learn even more, check out the USCCA website. There's tons of training videos. And again, when you can't get to the range, dry fire. I'm Chip Eberhart, Concealed Carry Magazine, City Limits. See you next time.
Thanks for staying with us all the way to the end. I'm Kevin Michalowski, Director of Content for the U.S. Concealed Carry Association. If you enjoy videos like this, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification bell. We'll notify you every time something new comes out. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.